Welcome in, everyone, for another edition of the American Firearms Association live show here tonight, Tuesday, a few days after Christmas. We hope y'all had a great Christmas, guys. I am Patrick Parsons, alongside my co-host, Alex Dorr. Alex, how you doing, man?
I'm good.
Alex runs a lot of our state operations across the country, guys. Tonight, we are talking state operations. We are talking about two massive gun control pushes happening across this country. First in Illinois, or we'll talk about that second. We talked about it last week, guys. And now in Washington State, you have these communist governors in Washington State, Jay Inslee, communist in Illinois, Governor Pritzker. And they are pushing some tyrannical gun control bills, guys. One point here before I throw it over to Alex to talk about these bills. Please comment in the comments section. Hit that like button, hit that share button. Let us know where you are watching from tonight. We want you involved in the discussion. We want you involved in the conversation, guys. Let's talk about these bills, Alex. First, we are going to talk about the state of Washington. I just mentioned it. You got this communist Democrat governor, Jay Inslee. I mean, you looked at it a lot this week, Alex, but we're talking assault weapons ban, civil liability, 10-day waiting period. Tell gun owners out there, let's discuss this. What are the consequences of what they're trying to do out there in Washington?
Well, you got to remember what just happened. Unless you're living under a rock as a gun owner, Washington just this past year passed atrocious gun control with a 10-round mag limit. That's for all guns. So your PMags gone, can't buy anymore. They've grandfathered in current owned ones, but we know that that will be the next thing they come back and throw out. They'll say, well, the ban didn't work on new. We're going to get rid of the old. So the Democrats in Washington are extremely emboldened right now. And they think after 6 years of trying to pass the so-called assault weapons ban, this is their time. This is their opportunity to take the fervor of the left, their so-called win of November 8th. They're going to ram this through their state legislature this year, or they're going to try.
Yeah, so talk about the civil liability portion of this, Alex. We've seen it in other states. The end game. What are they trying to accomplish here? It's pretty obvious on the surface, but if you're not into this or you haven't heard much about it, why don't you talk about it a little bit?
Well, as we talk about the civil liability insurance for anyone in West Virginia, Florida, Texas, Georgia, and any of the other red states that are watching, you're like, thank God I don't live in Washington. This has a major impact on you. So here's what's going to happen. They're trying to pass civil liability, which would allow people, affected parties of gun violence, to sue the manufacturer as civilly liable. And we're talking millions, tens of millions of dollars. And they only had just had their first win with Sandy Hook. Remington settled out of court for like $73 million for those families. Right. Like, again, how does that bother me? Aero Precision, for example, is right there, right outside of Tacoma, Washington. If they're forced to have civil liability insurance, or they were to have an assault weapons ban, Aero Precision is closing down. And if you think they won't do it, just this year, in January of this year, Tacoma, Washington said we're going to put an ammunition tax and a gun tax on all sales of guns and ammunition in Tacoma city limits. And Aero had to close down their doors and move outside of city limits with their 800 employees. They built a ginormous new manufacturing facility, and they set up shop again. If civil liability insurance comes along, or an assault weapons ban where you can't manufacture, Aero's one of three that I can think of in Washington. They're closed. So if you guys in Oklahoma like your Aeros like I do, if you guys in Virginia like your Aero Precisions like I do and have, they're gone. One of the largest manufacturers is being shut down. That is how the left is attacking gun rights, not just in Washington, but this is how they're attacking gun rights across the nation.
So they're coming at us from all angles, Alex. The end game here on civil liability for gun manufacturers is shut down, choke off these crazy patriotic right-wing Americans so they can't get their guns, they can't get their ammo, run them out of here, and there's nowhere left to go. That is their ultimate end game goal. And that is what we are seeing in the state of Washington. If you're out there in Washington, if you're watching the show tonight, let us know in the comments section, guys. But here at the American Firearms Association, we are unloading the political artillery in Washington state right now, guys. We are spending big money mobilizing gun owners against this dangerous legislation. Again, Jay Inslee is the communist governor, Democrat House, Democrat Senate. They've tried for 6 years to get through a so-called assault weapons ban. They also want a 10-day waiting period, the civil liability. If you have yet to join up as a member of the American Firearms Association, guys, join up tonight. There's a link right here on the video at joinafa.org. It's fast, it's simple, it's safe, it's secure, $35 a year, less than 10 cents a day. People ask us all the time, where does all the money go? Well, it goes into these fights, and we are mobilizing our tens of thousands of members in the state of Washington. And we're running ads all over the state, guys, getting people to call, to email, and to put pressure on the Washington legislature out there in Olympia, which comes in on January the 9th. We don't have a bill number yet, but this communist Governor Inslee had a press conference a few days ago, maybe a week ago, right before Christmas, calling for this draconian gun control. Now, for all intents and purposes, we need to understand why the left is doing this. Now, on the surface, we understand the left, right? They just want gun control. They want to restrict our rights. They want to disarm us. They want complete and total control over us. Rewind back to November 8th. Everybody was, Republicans are going to win. Republicans are going to win. Well, they didn't. Democrats won, and they won big. And what they are trying to do right now is go on offense, and we're seeing it in Washington. They don't think there's any consequences for their gun control. There's no consequences. So they're going on offense. We're going to have to beat back these assaults and go on offense ourselves while playing defense, but pushing and fighting and pushing, calls, emails, flood that legislature up there. Alex, Illinois, for those of y'all who were on the show last week, House Bill 5855. This is probably the most tyrannical gun control bill I've seen outside of California, Massachusetts, Maryland, on and on and on. Yep. But it's massive. I don't know if you have all the details in front of you there, Alex. It's assault weapons ban. It's FOID cards, which I know you're familiar with.
Age restrictions, all of it.
Yes, and we're spending big in that state as well, guys. So if you join up as well tonight, it's going to go right into these battles. Talk about that bill a little bit, especially the FOID cards, Alex. I know you're originally from one state over there in Iowa. Yep. Talk about what that means and increasing the age limit, what it means for hunting, on and on and on, and then registration, because that's what they want.
Absolutely. So FOID cards are the laughingstock of the gun rights community. I mean, I grew up in Iowa with the rest of the Dorr brothers. We all heard about FOID cards in Illinois. We had family from Illinois. We have friends still in Illinois, in Southern Illinois. Thank God for them. We used to have to travel through the state. And when crime went rampant, FOID cards came out. I drive hundreds of miles out of the way to and from Iowa to my home in Georgia just to avoid the state. Now, the FOID card means you have to have this purchase card in order to buy a gun or ammunition in the state of Illinois. You have to go through there now, enhanced background checks. You got to go through the sheriff's department. I'm not sure if you need fingerprints for that card as well. I'm pretty sure you do, but you can't get a concealed carry permit unless you've had the FOID card. It's an absolute crap show. It's an infringement like I haven't seen anywhere else or in any other state except for maybe New York City. So with this new bill that they're filing in Illinois already, it's going to do away with being able to get the FOID card between the ages of 18 to 21. And the point Aaron, I think, made in the show last week, and a lot of people emailed back and said that's absolutely ludicrous, is imagine you have someone in armed service and they're home for Christmas at 20 years old, and they're not allowed to be in possession or buy a gun when they're home for Christmas to go hunting, because they're in the future, if this bill passes with the FOID card age restriction up to 21. Or say your daughter goes off to college at the age of 19 and she wants to have a shotgun in her off-campus housing to defend herself. Say she's right outside of St. Louis, across the river from Ferguson. She wants a shotgun. Too bad. You're the victim. Nothing you can do about it. This is bullcrap, and this is why we're fighting so hard against it.
So yeah, this bill, and to get into some more of the bullet points, and there's about 15 bullet points in this bill, Alex. So currently 18 to 21 or 18 to 20 year olds are eligible for a FOID card.
Currently.
This would take it up to 21 to go hunting. And I looked at the bill right before we came in here. If you were under the age of 21 to go hunting in the state of Illinois, under this bill, you would be required to be with someone who has an FOID card in order to go hunting. Okay. Also, the registration of so-called assault weapons. It's not just so-called assault weapons, not the scary black-looking rifles. It's all semi-autos. It's like hundreds of firearms. This would affect 2.4 million gun owners with the FOID cards and with the so-called assault weapons. Within 60 days, they would be required to go in and register this firearm and pay a $25 fee. Now, there's a lot of rural areas in Illinois, despite what we know about Illinois, right? Chicago and, those type of places. But they would be required to go in and register these firearms. I mean, this is gun registration. This is incredibly draconian. And the title of the show tonight is 3 million gun owners affected. So when you put 2.4 million gun owners that they know of with FOID cards or FOID cards in Illinois, plus 700,000 in the state of Washington with their legislation that's about to be introduced, we are talking about over 3 million gun owners affected in this country, and even more potential gun owners who want to exercise their Second Amendment rights. And these are massive pieces of gun legislation. The American Firearms Association, we are unleashing holy hell via ads all across Illinois and all across the state of Washington. And your financial support helps your fellow gun owners in these states fight these tyrannical gun control bills. If you want to chip into these fights, do so by joining up tonight. Fight back, join today, joinafa.org. Get involved in the fight, guys. Alex, we are also looking at other big-time gun control bills all across the country in a lot of these blue states, but in red states as well. I know you're going to be fighting in some states like Georgia and Missouri, trying to advance Second Amendment rights, Ohio, other states, Pennsylvania, across the country. Talk a little bit about what you're preparing for. Legislatures, dozens of them go in next week and even more the week after in January of 2023. Talk about what you're specifically working on, or maybe you don't want to give away at this time, but what you're specifically working on maybe in Georgia and some other states.
So for the red states, we are extremely worried, or I should say we're preparing for the rhinos in the state houses to try to accept Joe Biden's bribe of $750 million this year when he passed the red flag bill. It was a $750 million funding bill to make red states pass red flag laws. Now, the blue states already have red flags. Doesn't work out so well. It actually does nothing except for takes away guns from law-abiding citizens without a court hearing. And so in Georgia, we're preparing legislation that would ban the state from taking any of this money from Joe Biden and trying to force us to pass red flag laws. Same thing's happening in Missouri. Same thing's happening in Iowa. We're going to get out in front and just basically tell all the state legislators, and especially the rhinos and any of the radical Democrats that may still exist in the state of Missouri and Iowa, we're not taking this money. We're not passing gun control. You can't bribe us into doing it. We also need the Second Amendment Preservation Act in all these states. Missouri has it. It's gorgeous. Gun control cannot be enforced in the state of Missouri unless you're a federal agent. Period. End of story. Hard stop. So if Joe Biden wants to, ban assault weapons by executive order, he's got to send in the feds to do it. And he does not have the manpower to do it in Missouri. And if we pass it in Georgia, then he's got to split his manpower down again. If we pass it in Iowa, Ohio, Pennsylvania, the list goes on and on. So we're going to neuter Joe Biden's gun control with SEPA.
Love it. Sorry, go ahead, and then I'll go on.
Before we switch over this topic, a thought came to me. I'm reading the comments here about people and talking about Illinois being lost and Washington being lost. They're far from it. What it is they don't have anyone fighting for them like we are. What you have to remember in Washington is the Democrats only have a 6-seat majority in the Senate, for pity's sake. 6 seats. Well, we all know it, just like in New York is ruled by the metro city districts of all the Democrats there. But there's a lot of rural districts in Illinois and Washington that do have Democrat senators and representatives. And their constituents sure as hell don't want this gun control. So it's not hard to pour on the pressure to the rural district Democrats and tell them, you better not do this. This is not an easy sell for the rural Democrats. And so to give up on the whole state and say, screw the Second Amendment in that state, they're a lost cause, move out, that's not going to fly. And we can sure as hell give it a good shot to crush this gun control.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I mean,
I don't give up.
No, that's good. And Aaron and I talked about this last week. There are a lot of people in the gun rights movement who, especially in these blue states after the Bruin decision, great ruling, awesome. But what they're saying, a lot of the gun rights groups out there is, oh, let's just let them have it. Let's just let them get whatever they want. We don't want to try to beat it up. We don't want to try to stop it. What we want to wait for is for unelected men and women in black robes in courts to say, oh, you know what, that's unconstitutional. Okay, great. But what about we're a representative republic? What about these legislators, like Alex said, in 50-50 districts or close districts or rural districts, who are, many of them, if they get tons of calls, tons of emails, they're going to freak out. They will freak out. And I don't care. In Washington, they're oh, it's great. Da, da, da. Well, 2024 is going to be a presidential year. You're going to see a lot more rural people show up and show out than they did in 2022, in my opinion. And I think a lot of these people, if they push forward with this, they're going to lose their seats, but only if you put pressure on them now and cause them to be either weak-kneed, vote with us, or if they vote the wrong way, then hold them accountable at the polls. But if you give up and then just say, oh, we'll beat them in the courts, nah, that doesn't fly, in my opinion. That's not what our country is all about. If you need to go that route, we'll go that route. But we need to fight these battles now, and that is what we are doing at AFA, guys, is running these ads all across Illinois, all across Washington, and absolutely mobilizing tens of thousands of gun owners across the country or across those states to oppose this legislation. Because as Alex said, nobody else is doing it. If they were doing it, then we would have no reason to exist at all. Yep. That is what we exist for, is to kick butt and take names. And to go to a second layer of that conversation, you know, you're probably watching what's happening in Washington, D.C. The Democrats control the Senate. The Democrats control the White House. Republicans are going to have a sliver, a narrow majority, and it always seems like we're under fire. Well, that may be true, but in red states especially, we need to go on offense to strip the federal government of that power. And that's what we do at AFA. It's what we've been doing in Missouri, in Ohio, in Georgia, in Iowa, and other states. Guys, we need to tell those feds, stay out. No, you can't do it. Even if you try to do it, no, sir, you can't do it in our state. And that's what we've been planning for weeks now at AFA and through our state affiliates like Georgia Gun Owners and Missouri Firearms Coalition. Ohio Gun Owners have been kicking butt and taking names up in Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
Alex's brothers, Chris, Aaron, Ben. And we're going to have big fights ahead, big offensive fights. But of course, the topic tonight, guys, if you're just now joining us, we are talking about Illinois. We're talking about Washington, monster gun control bills happening in those states. We will recap here. If you're just now coming in, guys, in Washington, you have this communist governor named Jay Inslee. You have a Democrat House. You have a Democrat Senate. Assault weapons ban they want to pass starting in the legislature on January 9th. Civil liability for gun manufacturers, 10-day waiting period, as much as they can possibly get. They got a 10-round magazine ban earlier this year. Why? Nobody's fighting effectively in that state, period. The second state is Illinois. HB 5855, we talked about it last week, tyrannical gun control bill, massive expansion of red flag laws, so-called assault weapons ban, registration of firearms affecting 2.4 million gun owners in that state. They have a lame duck session coming up January 4th through January 10th. January 4th through January 10th. It's odd. It's called lame duck, but it is coming. That fight is coming hot and heavy, and we are unloading big cash and big grassroots activism there in Illinois, guys. If you want to chip in and help in these battles, if you're not yet a member of the American Firearms Association, join up at joinafa.org using the link below. Alex, we'll wrap up here in just a minute. But again, tell gun owners what they can do in these states. If you're in Illinois and if you're in Washington, what are they going to see from us? What can they do as these legislative sessions are approaching?
Well, when you sign up with us, we're going to get you hooked up real quickly with an email address that you can just click the button, send an email to your elected official. But even if you're not in the state, go ahead and hit the button anyway. You can still send in a petition to them to tell them, don't you dare pass unconstitutional gun control in the state of Illinois. And in Washington, we're going to continue to target the Democrats, especially the weak Democrats, the ones on those 53-47 districts. And we're going to help gun owners in their districts get in touch with their elected officials and tell them, don't you dare work with the governor or the attorney general on passing this gun control. And Patrick, I want to make a point of that as well, and why we don't see lawsuits as a first line of defense. This gun control by Governor Jay Inslee, in his press conference, he stood up with the attorney general to announce this gun control push. That means the attorney general is going to be pushing this when the lawsuits were to come in. All right. It's going to be a hard fight in court. And if you're lucky, you might get 80%, 75% of it repealed. Who knows? So we're going to continue to fight this before it can ever become law. So by signing up with the American Firearms Association, we're going to put you in contact with your state legislators. We're going to continue to run ads in these districts, hammering on these people. And we're going to make sure every gun owner knows what's at stake, because a lot of times they have no idea what these bills are and they're being filed. And just like in Washington, when the 10-round mag ban was passed, a lot of people didn't even know it was a possibility till after it was done and they were notified by their dealers that there was a cutoff date. So stand with us. We're going to stand for you. We're going to fight for you. And we're going to keep pushing back in Washington and in Illinois.
Yeah, not fighting this stuff in legislatures. We're in Congress and we're in your state, and just hoping that judges will, because of the Bruin decision, will overturn whatever tyrannical gun control. It's just Russian roulette with your gun rights, man. I mean,
Yep.
You're instead of power to the people, right? It's power to the judges, and you are playing a dangerous game with your gun rights, guys. So as we approach these new legislative sessions, those of y'all in Washington and Illinois, take action, get involved, kick butt, and take names. If you're in a state where you're mostly on offense, get ready, because we are coming in hot and heavy. Alex is right. We got to watch out for those red flag gun control bills. There's a lot of money coming out of Washington, billions of dollars that the Biden administration is dangling in front of states right now across the country. So we're going to watch for those fights, guys. And then, we'll just see what happens in Congress. And we'll be talking about that as we come closer to the new Congress, which starts January 3rd. Alex, thanks for joining us here tonight on the AFA show. Thank you, everybody out there, for joining us as well across the country. Looks like we had another good show tonight. 14,000 of y'all tuned in last week. We're hoping to have another good turnout here tonight, guys. Like, share, comment in the comment section where you're from, guys, and join up with the American Firearms Association tonight at joinafa.org. We hope y'all had a great Christmas. If you're on vacation between Christmas and the New Year, we hope you're having a great vacation as well, guys. If you need to renew your membership with the American Firearms Association, head over to the website, AmericanFirearmsAssociation.org, and get involved in the battle, guys. We love y'all. Thank you for all of your support. We'll probably join y'all again at least one more time this week, maybe tomorrow night or Thursday night, to talk about another topic, guys.
Yep.
Until then, keep up the fight. Never, ever back down. And always, always, always fight to protect and defend our Second Amendment rights. Alex, you got anything?
I don't. I just want to say goodnight to Chris. I see him in the comments here. A lot of good friends in here. Stephen Schaefer. We're going to get emails out shortly. You can pass those around. You can go to our Facebook page. We got links there. But good to see everybody, and looking forward to a new year of curb stomping some gun control.
Love it, guys. Until next time, I'm Patrick. He is Alex. We will see y'all soon. Have a great night, guys, and a good week. See you later.